because like it's golden nuggets, man. It's golden nuggets.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, so what I was saying is that, you know, I have I can use psychology when I talk to people, you know,
Yeah.
and I use it in a very positive way. It's not to manipulate people.
Yeah, I mean, it's to help them make the best
Right.
decision for themselves, right? Like how you asked that, hey, how much do you want to put in? I mean, you did it in a very ninja way. That the way you ask it is basically, how much do you want to help yourself? How much
Right.
do you want to make? Like, how much money do you want to make by putting more money into?
Yeah. How much do you want to pay yourself out your future? You know, pay yourself in the future. I mean,
Exactly.
there's a lot, but it's
So I mean, for
it,
me, like listening to your calls compared to other agents, like the calls that they have, is like, there's one thing that specifically stands out is the prospects are very positive or neutral about the conversation with you. Whereas
Mhm.
most of my agents who's not really that good at it, like it's very negative.
Mhm.
Like they could get like very combative, asking questions. Hey, why are you asking me this? You know, what is this about and all that. And I kind of broke down some of the things that you did. I think it's, yes, like there's like word plays, there's like, you know, psychology and all that, but I think it's the overall framework
Mhm.
that puts the prospect at ease, that knowing that, hey, you know, this is something that I want to do. Telling you my personal stuff is something that I want to do because of that framework, right?
Mhm.
So I just want to break down what I wrote down, and if you could let me know, hey, you know, that's correct, that's not correct, like what you did here, that'd be awesome. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
So let's say you booked a call, blah blah. You know, you rang. You know, you hop on the phone. The first thing you do is you introduce yourself, right? Not only that, but you tell them about like your secret weapon, and I think that's very smart. And your secret weapon is ERFT.
That's
Um,
correct.
that stands for what, earning something tax, or
Eliminating risk, fees, and taxes.
yeah, something like that. And
Well,
so
it's really important because that's
yeah,
actually the heart and soul of, you know, I believe in and what our company is supposed to be representing.
right. But
It's
here's
actually
a
being trademarked.
yeah. So I think everyone, like every agent, should have like a secret weapon. I mean, if it's not like ERFT, like, I mean, I don't know. Let's say like TFRA. I mean, we gave you, you know, a secret weapon already,
Right.
right? But I think the reason why this works, and you know, this is actually marketing. We call that the what but not how, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the what but not how. So yeah, ERFT, eliminating, you know, risk, you know, tax, fees. I mean, we know what that is, but we don't know how the hell you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So by you introducing yourself and correlating your secret open to your company, to you as a person, um, and establishing that frame, you tell the prospect, hey, you know, this is what the call is going to be about. If you are interested, then, you know, go through our process. Because I mean, look, when you start asking like very invasive questions from the beginning, and I'm like, dude, why are these people answering your question? And I think because you set up that frame, you know, this is my secret open, this is what the call is going to be about. Be compliant with me so that you'll get the reward on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is this that, am I overthinking? Is this something,
No,
is that the reason why?
you're just missing pieces.
Yeah.
So that is what's happening, right? And like I said, it is a psychological thing too. But the whole time, it doesn't matter where I am from the very beginning of a call to the very end of the call.
Mm,
Before I move to another section, like for instance, the introduction, say, let me properly introduce myself, you know, because they haven't met me yet, right? So, and I tell them who I am, or what I represent, or what company I represent, what ERFT is, and you know how that's basically the heart and soul. And that's the main reason why that is the reason why I have your application, because we are number one company in this space. And I get an affirmation, I get a nod from them, understanding. So the whole thing, before I move to anything, as you go through this, I always get some form of an agreeable,
Yes.
or an affirmation.
Mm.
So then as soon as I get done with that part, I'll tell them what I'm going to do next. I literally tell them, I said straight up, I said, hey, look, I got your application. Before I move any further, I really need to go through some of it to ensure that you are who you say you are. And then from there, I'm going to go into more details about what you put on here. Is that okay with you?
Okay. So
I ask for permission. I get the affirmation.
you're right.
It's
So
structured.
yeah. So it's like getting to a yes. So you have the affirmation, and then you it's very straightforward. You transition right away. Hey, so this is what I do. Let's get straight to it. And then you start hitting them with questions here and there.
Yep.
So here's what I wrote down about the questions that you were trying to ask. I feel like what you did a very good job is you don't assume. Even if they put down, hey, let's say the check boxes, right? 1, 2, 3, I don't know, guaranteed interest, tax free, and they left out everything out. And you don't assume. You ask them, hey, is that all you want? Like, because they all seem pretty important. What's your, I mean, what's your like concept behind that? Like, is
Well,
that like
first of all,
tactical?
yeah, it is very tactical, and it's also a part of what I just mentioned to you. So when I get to that section, and let's say they check 2 boxes instead of all 5 or 6, right? I ask it in a way where, like, did you miss this? I'm like giving you an opportunity to rethink, if
Oh,
these things are important to you, because that is exactly what I do. That's what we specialize in. And I tie it back again to extreme one. And also the fact of how we are number one in that space. And that's why I have your application. So, it's critical for me to understand.
gotcha. So the reason why you ask them again is you want them to tell you, oh, hey, this
Mm-hmm.
is important. You want them to rethink that situation. Is this important? And then you want to
Mm-hmm.
tie that importance to your name, to your company, to
My
this call,
brand.
your
Yes. The
brand.
call,
Okay.
everything, the whole purpose of
And
this.
is there because we have like multiple questions, like we have like
Mm-hmm.
different questions.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like an order in terms of like a sequence like a sequence, or do you just ask like randomly what comes to mind? Because
No,
I would have assumed you leave the hold on, I'm not sure why Siri is on, but I'm talking to Siri. um I would have assumed like you leave the more invasive ones towards the end, because that's when you start building rapport. But for you, I just don't see a pattern. Like, you just ask whatever you want.
yeah, actually, I just follow it. I follow the way the questions are written. So unless
Okay.
if I
Yeah.
personally feel like that there may be some hesitancy, because I've got calls I can send them to you where people are like, they don't want to answer, and
Mm.
I was like, someone comes in and they tell me they're making, in fact, here's a perfect example. I'm pretty sure I recorded this one, but I can tell you about it. His name is Barry something, came in yesterday. I was talking to him within 5 minutes and started a discovery call within 5 minutes. And after he came in,
What do you mean
and
texting him, or what do you?
I sent him a text. He responded with text, and then I sent back another one saying, hey, look, I got availability right now, or something along that lines. If you're free, I can have this conversation right now. It's
And
only
do you?
15 minutes.
Okay. And then he's like,
And
okay, cool. And then you call
he's
him.
like, boom, yeah. And now I'm on a discovery call. So now,
Okay.
and this guy, he goes, well, he said over 160,000. I said, Barry, do you just mind sharing with me ballparking about what that means? He goes, well, actually, I don't see how that matters, but I go, well, then give me a generic number. Give me something that I can work with.
Oh, so you go back to some that yeah, we mentioned that last
Arbitrary
time. Yeah,
and
yeah.
arbitrary.
How you could
So
help them, yeah.
yeah, so he's like, okay, it's over 300,000 is what he told me. So
Okay.
so when he said that to me, I was like, okay. I said 300,000. You break that down as $25,000 a month. Is basically, if you're using 300,000. And I go into what's your monthly expenses, what's your not, mine. I now use myself as an example.
That's a very good way to open up the conversation. Like
So and then I do that, and then it just keeps moving forward. So now I got right past his objection. So it happens, the resistance, the wall that they put up, I go right past it.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, like, if you sequence the question in a certain way, let's say if you ask the questions like do you remember the boxes that you checked off, like what's your interest and blah blah, like that's not as invasive as income questions, right? And I'm not sure if it does matter. I think you know this more than me, but like if you ask more like easier questions first, and then you slowly transition into harder questions.
Well, you know what, Dickie? They check the boxes, right?
Yeah.
They're the ones who are already submitting the applications. Whether they're serious or not, we don't know yet until we get to this point, right?
Yeah.
So if I just ask questions about each box that they checked independently or individually, I'd be wasting time. Because the reality of it is that I need to get to a point within a certain amount, a window of time. I got to do it. I'm trying to keep it at 15 minutes. So, and if I get to the income, then what that does is it opens the door for me to plant the seed for them when we see what's left over for income on a monthly basis, for me to say, well, how much of this do you feel comfortable? Half, a third, so I plant the higher number.
All right, let's do that slowly. Because that's the second question that I want to get into. So let's say you introduce yourself, you show them your secret weapon, you make that transition, you start asking them questions. Now, I noticed you work like you're trying to get some you're trying to get some answers out of these questions, and I wrote down three main ones. Income, obviously. I mean, actually two main ones: income, and then what I think the most important answers is income and what they were doing. Because what that allows you to do is that allows you to make a transition from what they have. So let's say the guy gave you like 401k RA, right? And that allows you to make a very smooth transition of educating them why, hey, you're gonna pay a lot of tax. 40%, 40. I mean, you're gonna lose 40% of your retirement income just because you have an RA and a 401k, and then that helps you make the transition into the tax code, the tax-free retirement tax code. Did I miss out any?
Actually, you're right in that, but it also enables me to insert little stories. That are, there's small stories that are relatable. That's the most basic one and straightforward one, is the fact that one, where the 401ks came from, how did why did they come about, at what time. So, and then because they put the burden on the employee versus the employer, instead of having a pension versus 401k, right? The sad part is that they didn't tell you, because they even prettied it up and said, here, we'll allow you to put money in this account, before taxes, deferred account. Well, that actually is harmful. It's not a very good thing. It's a negative thing. So that's a little story. And then there's the little story about, the farmer, would you rather pay, on the seed or on your harvest?
On harvest, yeah.
So those are little stories that tie things together mentally in their heads.
And
yeah, I can't hear you.
Yeah, there's like this mute button here. Sometimes I accidentally press it. But speaking of story, I like how you correlate your questions according to what they answer. Because it's like, let's say they tell you something about I don't know, I can't think of anything, but let's say they tell you something, hey, you have 401k, and then you hey, I used to have that, whatever. Like, you correlate the next question according to what they gave you. So it's not like an interview that you're hitting them a question and they're like, what the fuck? Like, why are you asking me so many questions? It's almost like a converse, like you do it in a very conversation way. But anyways, that's just a side thing that I noticed. Okay, so your goal and the questions, like, did I leave anything out? So it's income and what they're doing, because that helps you build the next transition. Or
income, what they're doing, and also, based on the, if like someone told me let's say there's someone's 50 years old and they're telling me they want to retire when they're 60, or they put down 3 years, they want to retire in 3 years or less than 5 or something like that.
Mhm.
If I see that on the application, that tells me how I'm going to have this conversation when I get to the questions, because
Mm.
I will ask them what kind of plan after I get their financial picture, that snapshot of their financial picture.
Yeah.
I'll ask them, like, well, what kind of plans do you have in place in order to support yourself? Because most people live, past 65, at least 20 years. That's it. And I even ask them, what's it like, what's longevity like in your family? Because
Mm.
what it does is it makes them think about whether they have done a good job at preparing themselves. Not
Mhm.
only, now there's two things happening too, not only for them to survive and not live on a fixed income, but
Mhm.
also because that lie that was told to them in the beginning,
Yeah.
but also, hey, listen, if something happens to you, because I still haven't talked about insurance yet, right? Haven't
Mhm.
even brought it up,
You
you
haven't even
know,
brought it up. Yeah.
haven't even brought it up. And, if something would happen to you, your worst case scenario, how would you continue to survive without depleting any of all your resources or other family members' resources? Bam, boy, that's it. That knocks people on their ass when you ask them that question.
Mm. So I think what you're trying to do is based on three questions. You're trying to find the pain, right? So you want to. So let's say the income, the age, and what they're doing right now. So you base off of these three answers, you're trying to see, you're trying to paint a financial picture of what they're doing, as a whole for their retirement. And then you're trying to find things here and there to make them to be aware of, hey, I actually don't have anything
But
to
in a
retire.
very polite and very professional manner, because
Right.
it
Because
is
you don't say it to them. Like you have them
no,
say it to you. So
right.
now they're in the process, okay, you know, I, this guy's not trying to sell me. I'm selling myself because I'm telling you this. They're opening up. Obviously, and obviously, not everyone's gonna open up to you like that because I feel like those are more invasive questions. And that's why you
About
have
90,
that.
about 95% do, maybe even higher, 99%.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Like for you, I think because of your framework, like since you frame it so well, I think that's the reason. And like every in between lines, like you have like these tactical response. I don't even know what to call it. I just call it like tactical response. It's like you correlate what they say to you, and that kind of builds rapport as well. So they trust you more and more along the way, right? So that's beautifully done. I think not everyone can have that kind of experience, but I just want to map out like the frameworks and what you're trying to get,
Mhm.
throughout the process. At least you have like some frame, like the in terms of wordings. That I don't think people coming in can just copy and paste what you're doing, but at least they have the frame, right? At least I know what to do in this part of the questioning is, and that's just to find the pain, so that you could easily transition into what I call the education phase. And for you,
Mhm.
that's the story phase. Tell them, hey, you have 401k, and you tell them a story, and then you use that to transition into how much you want to save. Is that usually what you do, or did
You
I think I missed a step there? I think I
yeah,
missed a step
yeah.
there.
The transition really is, once I'm doing the math the whole time, right? So I'm literally, as they provide those answers for me, I'm doing the math. So I break it down. They can't even see me doing it.
Yeah.
So, that way there, when I look at when I have theirs, which I tell them I'm going to do, I'm going to take a snapshot of your financial picture, but when I present it to them, at that point, that's you're right. I'm building rapport through my tonality, matching
Response,
theirs, my
tonality. Yeah.
responses, how that, but
Professional. Yeah.
yeah,
Very well
and
done
then
there.
when I bring to their attention what their expendable income is, that's a very key and critical piece, because most people are unaware of what they have as expendable income. Like that cup of coffee you have right there. You know how many people
Yeah.
go down to Starbucks and spend $8 like 3 times a day for a cup of coffee?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
they get $3 or $9 or $18 a day converts into like $500 a month,
Can
or four
can
hundred
you
dollars a month.
can you tell me how you I think I missed something there. Can you tell me how you make that transition from educating them about what they're doing right now to the expense, or do you just dive right in? Like, so
Yeah,
let's say if
no, I
401k,
used
if
to,
they'll do,
I'll go into the 7702 first.
so from what they're doing, you transition into the tax code 7702. That's the
Yep.
TFRA. And then how do you
Mhm.
transition into the expense?
After I introduce 7702, I tell them that, I also talk about how there's another story, money has no emotions.
Yeah, I love
Simply
that.
be
There's two things.
right.
Yeah. There's two
Yeah.
things.
So,
The money and the tax code.
right. So once I do that, then I'm able to go back to what I took as a snapshot and speak to the snapshot picture. Say, so you told me, you're roughly earning, $120,000 a year. That's $10,000 a month. Your outgoing expenses are 3,000. That leaves you with $7,000. So it's intentional. And in that
Yeah.
$7,000, about how much of that do you believe, or do you feel like you could put aside, out of sight,
Dude,
and out of mind?
this is so ninja, because so you did the story, and I'm assuming you asked for a yes to, in the
Every time,
transition.
every way, all
You
the way
asked for
through.
yes, so they're like yes, and then you transition in the text. So hey, does this sound cool? Yes. You ask for affirmation, and then okay, cool. Let's break down your numbers. Okay, yes. So it's like yes, 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 yes. So you get like
Yeah.
no objection. Like
Uh,
that's why
I,
you have like a 95% rate of compliance.
Yeah, in fact, if somebody said no to me in any way, shape, or form, then I've already lost them for some reason or another. Something happened.
What do you
Either,
do then? Like, what do you do? Let's say if they say no, like, do you go back and try to get them to say yes again? Like,
yeah,
what's your,
well, no, something, they missed some value somewhere. So
mm,
somewhere I missed something that they were thinking about in their mind, and I didn't touch it yet. So
okay.
if I get something, if somebody says, well, you know what, why don't I think about that, and if I can't get past it, like if I try to go back and see what it was, and I still can't get it out of them, then I'll say, look, well, I'll tell you what, why don't we just move forward? And for instance, I'll use an arbitrary number
Mm-hmm.
just so that we can keep this moving. You can see the value. You
So
know what
you
I mean?
so yeah, so you loop it back and you try to go through the yes again with
What I
that
believe is
number.
stuck,
What
where they're stuck. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously it's just for you it's just testing, because you don't know what's stuck, and you're just trying to test what works, what
Yeah.
doesn't. And
Well,
at the end of the day, like
again, there's two things that could be happening. One, they could be putting up some kind of false, objection that they're thinking of or projecting that they have because they haven't heard the rest of it yet. So they're already
mhm,
saying, "Oh, let me put on the brakes here. I've only got so much information, right?" And the only thing he's told me about is a tax code. I like their brain's a little frozen, and
yeah.
so I have to go back and make sure that that's the problem. Because if it's something different than that, then then the second time I try, because I'll use the erase method, and I'll just evade the first object, like, and and then if they repeat it again, then I'll repeat it back to them so they can hear what they just said. Sometimes doing that to someone, and this is again, it's all psychological. When you do that to somebody, it forces them to hear it themselves, and when they hear it themselves, they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, yeah, that didn't make sense, or that really doesn't have any importance here at this moment. No, it's okay. Let's move forward."
Can you give me an example? Like, um, let's say I'm in at the income phase where you ask
Mhm.
me about, and I'm like, hey, hold on, like it's too fast for me. I need more information. Like, why are you asking me this? So try to loop back the
Sure,
loop it.
I can completely understand where you're coming from. This is personal information. However, I'm just responding to your tax-free account application, like I had mentioned to you in the beginning. And in order for me to, come up with a real true picture for you, and be, the best at what I do, so I can offer you the best product, or best of all worlds with tax code 7702, it just helps. So, you know, um, so I'm looking, that's the reason why I'm taking, and I'm winging this now. That's the reason why I'm doing this and asking you these questions. Is it okay if I continue?
Okay, gotcha. So you loop it back to the benefit of helping them. So they want to apply for the TFRA. You know, throw out the tax code, which is your way to, you know, go over everything. Yeah, what but not how, right? That term, what but not how, again.
Mhm.
I think you could also throw out your you know, your secret weapon, which is, what is it, like
ERFT.
ERFT. I think you could also throw that out, like, you know, again, I specialize in EFRT, helping you do that. But in order to do that, you know, can I ask you more question? I think you could also do that. So the framing,
It helps
um,
both of us. I would even say that it helps
yeah,
both of us have clarity in regards to the direction that we're going to move forward in. Should you decide that this is a good product for you,
yeah,
I
yeah,
lay it right back on their shoulders.
yeah. Okay, gotcha. So that's how you know, basically when they give you objections, you just loop it back, get the yes, have the yes, have the affirmation, and go through. So it's almost like
Mhm.
you're playing a video game. Like there's like different stages, and you have to like get a yes, get a. Once you get a no, go back, loop it again, yes, and you know, break it through like that. So okay, so going back to the transition phase. So first of all, you transition from what they're doing, and you transition to the education, which is a story, and then you transition into a tax code, and then you transition it into the calculation and their expense, and
Mhm.
then the last thing you do to nail it and to, you know, take it home is how much, like the way you ask it, like I have to write that down by hand, but the way you ask this is so flawless. Like, how much do you want to pay yourself in the future?
Mhm.
Out of whatever expense you have, how much do you want to pay yourself in the future?
Do you notice
And
the only time I bring that in is if there's a doubt in regards to, because they haven't seen what I do yet. They're only hearing ideas. They're only hearing things they've never heard. But when I ask them for that, there's two things happening. There's always two
mm,
things happening at once. One is to plant the seed to get as much of the expendable income to increase the amount of money that they can save and they pay themselves in the future. It's two things. So that way
mhm,
they don't think, oh, okay, well, I see $4,000 that we have expendable income. Well, yeah, I'm willing to give you 500 because I don't know what it is yet. I'd rather
mm,
I'd rather plant that seed and say, hey, look, would it be, if you got 5 grand, can you do, 3,000? Can you do 2,500? Can you do 3,500? So I'm putting that higher number up there. So when they come back with a number, they're not starting down here because
yeah.
I already
I
put it
mean,
up here.
if you think about it, like even if they say 1,000, I mean, 1,000 a month, that's like what? That's like 10 grand, right? That's like 12
Yeah,
grand,
something like that. Yeah.
and
It's
that's
12
like
grand a
one
month, but as far as the target, as far as how you get paid on that, it differs depending on how
the
much
company.
insurance there
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
how old they are, how long they're going to be contributing. There's a lot of factors in there, and those are in my mind too, because I can read that before. That's why I asked.
Okay, yeah.
Are you really going to retire in 3 years? Like, do you really have a plan? That's in a
Mhm.
very callous way, the way I just said it to you. But I find those, get that information and get them to think about it and get them to agree that no, I can't do that unless I do something different.
Yeah. That's like the pain question, and you know, it's more like the consequence question phase where you know, want them to realize what will happen if they don't have anything by
Mm-hmm.
themselves. Okay, so expense. You move on to that, and then you transition to how much they want to save. You put a higher number, and I think you just do it every single time. You know, like because you were saying, you know, I only do that when they have doubt. I think it applies. It probably applies to everything. So, you know, I mean, if for agents who starting out who don't know how to tell the difference, I'll just tell them, hey, just do every single time. Like just set a higher
Yeah,
number.
it is almost every time.
Yeah,
It really is, because you can see the doubt in people's minds when you get to that point, when you're asking them how much are they willing. I didn't use how much are you willing to pay yourself until after I see some hesitation to answering that direct question, because I throw out the
mm,
higher numbers.
yeah. Gotcha. But you always frame it in their best interest, like to pay
Mm-hmm.
themselves, you know, to retire
Mm-hmm.
in a very, you know, comfortable way. Like how much are you willing to do right now in order to do that, right? So
Right.
you don't frame as, hey, how much are you going to pay me or pay the insurance company, because that never works, right? How much are you willing to pay yourself so
Mm-hmm.
that you could get the goals you want in the future? You know, how much,
Mm-hmm.
like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, like how much are you willing to do that right now, right? So
Right.
you know, that's how you frame it. And then after they tell you a number, you know, 1,000, 2,000, whatever, um Yeah, I my brain farted. Um, so after you do that, the next stage is you book the call.
Mhm.
Is that it for the first discovery call, or am I missing any?
Yeah, you're
Um,
missing a couple things, but I'm trying to think. So one thing, when I'm one of the things when I ask that question, right, and when it comes to how much are you, before actually even before I get there, and sometimes even afterwards, depends on how the conversation is flowing. Um, but I'll bring in the fact that I'm trying to show them that if they use their existing habits, they're
mhm.
literally what they're currently doing right now, and just move it from one vehicle to the other. Okay, that's the first thing. So let's say they're putting $1,000 or $1,500 a month that in their 401k, or maybe between a 401k and an IRA, they're maxing them out. That's one, that comes out to like $2,200 something dollars a month, right? If they do that.
Mm,
So I get that first. And I said, look, if we just stop doing that, because about the volatility, the taxes, the fees, the tax, all of that, just you still have those accounts, but you're not going to fund
mm.
them anymore. We're going to take that existing habit, we're going to move it over to this vehicle, which is tax code
Do you
77.
say that? Do you
Yeah,
say that like word by word? Hey, but we're
yeah,
not gonna do that anymore.
yeah, absolutely. And that way
Well,
there, it doesn't seem like anything's changing for them. It's very simple. It's a process of just turning one vehicle and parking in another vehicle.
okay. I think I
Eh,
have to listen to that call again because I'm not sure if you actually say, hey, we're gonna do this because just from hearing it, I think a
we're just going to
little
use
bit of
your Dickie. Let me say it to you
skeptic.
right now. This is how it goes. Hey, Dickie, let me explain to you. I understand we just went through your financial snapshot real quick, but before I get to it, the final part of it, and before we end this call and schedule our next one, you know, if I see the hesitancy, I say, look, the main goal here is not to put you in a position where you're strapping yourself financially. It's truly just to take whatever your existing habits are today and move it from the vehicles you have them in into this other vehicle, which is the tax code 7702, section 29, which enables you to grow your money, continuously compound, and you have access to it anytime you want. And that's the only time that I bring up any form of insurance. Plus, we can guarantee to insure your income for life.
You frame it.
See,
You frame it first. Yeah.
boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
It goes like that. And that's when the wall comes down again when it comes to money. And that's when I turn around and say, okay, so you do have $5,000 expendable income. Can you add a little bit to what this number is that we're just moving from one vehicle to the other?
Mm, So
Yeah.
again,
So
you frame it like for their best interest first, and then you ask them, okay, so you have like 5,000 left, I guess, spend income. Can you do something, for yourself in the future? Can
right,
have
because it
more? Yeah,
benefits them. And I'm
yeah,
building the size of the case.
yeah, and it benefits you as well.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So that's that, and then, um, and then book the appointment. Like, damn, I'm just gonna write this down.
It's being recorded.
Yeah, but yeah, sometimes you just have to write down things too.
Yeah. Can you do me a
Um,
favor? Can you, at the
yeah,
end of this, there's no sensitive material on this one. At the end of this, would you send this to me too, please?
yeah. Do you want me to blur it? I mean, I don't think I have to
No,
blur
you don't have
anything.
to blur me. I
Yeah,
don't, no, you
I'll,
don't have to, because we haven't said anybody's names or anything like that.
yeah, I'll send that to you. Okay. Okay. So that's one part that I missed out. That framing part where you try to dig a little bit more about their expense.
Mm-hmm.
What about like, are these questions necessary? Because I see you sometimes do it, but sometimes you don't do it. And I just want to have your thoughts on it too. So let's say you did it with me in the first role play, the term policy. You did that. You asked about
Mm-hmm.
other policy and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Kids. Sometimes you do it, sometimes you don't. I think you could tell, like, hey, this guy, they don't have any kids. But like the last guy that I listened to, like they had like I think he had like a daughter, like he's divorced, he had like the daughter. What why didn't you ask about the daughter? Like what So because like when you do things
Okay.
sometimes and when you don't do things sometimes, like I get curious, like
Yeah, you know what it is. You
why
know
is
what it
that?
is.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So what it is, okay, first of all, it comes down to my time,
Oh
right?
yeah,
So
that makes
I
sense. Yeah.
I I try to keep my word to the time. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
it's really important. It shows respect.
Respect. Yeah.
Yeah, it shows a lot of stuff. So, but I do ask, are you married? Do you have any children? How many children? And I'll ask the age. Now, if the children are already adults, I stop. I don't ask any more questions about it. I'll wait until the
The
next
final.
meeting,
Yeah. The next call. Yeah.
the next call, because it's critical that when you have kids that are under 26 years of age, because in the United States, you have to keep them insured till you're 26, right? Till they're 26.
Mm-hmm.
But even at younger ages, if something were to happen to you, you want to make sure you can provide for them and you can leave a legacy for them. And that's where that comes in, you know.
Mm. Well, I mean, I guess for new agents who's starting out, I wouldn't even want bother them with, hey, let's forget about that. Let's take care of the main piece of the pie first. If you get
Mhm.
anything extra, then do it. But let's take care of the main pain first, right? Which is the prospect itself hopping on the call with you. But
Well,
no,
you know what? I have to disagree with you
okay,
because
please go ahead.
like I'm building a team right now. I have 5 people at this point. I've one just recently got licensed. One's been licensed for a while. I've got 3 more people that are in the process of becoming licensed, and they're all being trained to do it this way.
Mhm.
And the one that's been licensed, and in her first month and a half, she's gonna do over $100,000 in commissions
Damn. Yeah.
because
Okay.
she
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
it this way.
Right. So you rather have a new agent start out from having everything, good to go instead of, not learning the wrong way or skipping steps.
Mhm.
Um, okay, gotcha. Okay. Damn man, there's a lot of things. Okay, so what else did I miss? So we went from
Um,
the transition.
well, we did the existing habits, the conversion. Let me see. I'm just trying to think if you got most of it. There was one
Okay.
other thing, but I didn't write it down. It's getting ready to write it down and I didn't do it, but it's real simple. Introduction, from introduction, you go into asking for permission to
Mm-hmm.
validate the person, because there's identity theft all the time, blah, blah, blah. Obviously I got your phone number, I'm talking to you. It's just your email. Okay, great. So you're validating. And then as soon as you get through the first couple of questions that are simple one, okay, so now I'm going to look at this side of it, and you start asking questions. Okay, so you wrote here, 160 plus thousand, or between 80 and
What do you
160,000.
mean by
It's kind of,
that?
yeah, well, it's a vague, gray answer. Say, can you be more specific? Can you at least give me a ballpark figure of what you've been doing over the last, 2 or 3 years, and what you think you're
Mm.
projecting for next year? That way there I get a real number. You know,
I'm just curious to see if you put that question a little bit later down the road, would it come off better? But obviously for you, it doesn't matter because you're like 90-ish%. But let's say for a new age, if you put that question like a little bit down, further into discussion, would that
where are you
ease
going
the
to put
prospect a
it?
little?
I mean, if this is structured to flow, and it's also,
Yeah. Well, that's true. Yeah.
it's about leading someone down a path,
Yeah.
and in order to lead someone down a path, you have to have direction and you have to have purpose. And then you
Mhm.
also have to have, somebody to agree with you, so
Yeah.
it's
That's true. Yeah.
about affirmations. You always have to get, if you don't ask for permission in your transitional phase or before the transition begins, you're going to get stopped.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. Okay. So, and then, so, you do that and you do the thing that we just mentioned, and then you ask for the expense, you quantify the expense, you magnify the expense,
Mm-hmm.
by telling that story. And
Mm-hmm.
then they tell you they agree, affirmation, and then you book a call. So let's
Yep.
imagine you book the call, like,
I
so,
do it right there. Yeah.
and
I
that's it.
ask right there.
And that's it. Hey, see you, and then
Thank you for your time. Look forward to
okay,
our
that's
next
easy.
meeting. You're really going to enjoy what I have to show you. You're going to be
Okay.
excited. And if we need to, we can change the numbers, we can add, we can subtract. But if this is what I'm going to show you is so flexible. I can't hear you.
Stupid mic. Like they have like a mute button here. But it's so stupid. Once you touch it, like it just mute itself. Okay, so I think up to this point, I think I have the first phase down, which I feel like that's the hardest phase, like for agents who's in my program. We're gonna talk about the later phase just a little bit, just later. But then I want to go back to the so let's say phase one, it's a discovery call. Now I think there's a phase before that too, which is booking the call. What are
I'll tell you that we know for a fact, and in fact, I'm in the process of hiring 2 admins, right?
Yeah.
One is going to be a virtual admin that's going to be in the Philippines. It's going to work night times. It'll be nighttime here, and an admin that'll be working full time here. And they are going to be managing this system. So the second an opportunity comes in, that opportunity gets addressed with whether we call it a template or each team member's template, how they want to introduce themselves. And that admin's going to do that. And the admin's going to keep the conversation going with everybody's potential clients that's going to be in this system. And when they get them to the point where they say, okay, yes, I have time now, or they notify the agent. And that way they put it on their calendar and notify them it's on the calendar. And that way we're working on more important things.
Right. So is it just a text message sequence? Like, let's say
so far it's just text. That's it. Okay. And I find that if we talk to people within 5 minutes or inside of 5 minutes, and there's no bullshit about this at all. And not that there was anything that I was talking about before, but if you respond within 5 minutes or less, the likelihood of you getting someone to reply back to you increases dramatically, at least 80%. So I'm talking about interaction. Boom, they're interacting. And once you have them interacting, you send another text message that relates. It's not a generic thing. It relates to what they just said to you. And tie it and use a tie down to get them to commit to an appointment. Boy, then your appointment ratios go up, and then the appointment ratios the way that I do them, 100% of them will move. Almost 100% will move to the presentation. Yeah. And then at the presentation,
you're like 90 shit. Like that's like crazy. Like my best guys like does 50%. Let's say they have like 10 discovery calls, 5 of them gets into appointment.
No,
almost like 3 appointments.
I don't think I've ever had even one person not go to the appointment. Now I've had people that would not transition to the application closing, but the close is asking for that next step.
And we'll get into that the next call.
Right.
But I just want to take care of everything before that first, and then I'll take care of everything after that. I'll write like a whole SOP guideline, because I want to redo the training portal. I think it's very not up to date.
Why don't you let me help you do it besides just like this? I mean, right now I feel like I'm just giving it to you.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, I don't want to take up too much of your. I mean, I'm not sure if you mind or not, but
I'm thinking we should barter a little. Yeah.
Let's have the recording off first before.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. No. So anyways, back to the appointment setting phase. So speed, that's number 1, right? Okay, speed number 1, and then speed, and then what you said is following what they say to book appointment. Can you give me an example of that?
Wait, say that again.
So speed is number 1.
Yeah.
And the second thing you said is based on what they text you back or whatever they like replied.
Yeah. You have an actual, it's actual correspondence. It's not generic. So
So can you give me an example?
Sure. Let me hold on a second. Let me grab somebody that I just did this with yesterday. Okay.
Yeah.
So hold on. Okay, so let's see. All right, so the Barry Arnett, he was the one that was somewhat hesitant, right?
Mhm.
So here he comes
Yeah,
in.
you probably have to do a screen share first, buddy.
Oh yeah, well, I didn't want to show you all my secrets, dude.
Yeah, yeah, no. Well, just let me, or just share like a portion of it, man. Like you
Oh
could,
no,
on
I'm
Zoom,
wait.
you could,
Hold on a second. Hold on. Let me see.
you could just share like a portion of.
Oh, no. It's okay. I don't care. It's not like
Yeah. I
it's
mean,
not
come
like
on, like no one's gonna steal your leads, man. Like I'm
no,
not
no.
sharing your leads or anything like
All
that,
right,
you
all right.
know?
So check this out. Okay, so he comes in, right? The actual timing was at 10:10 yesterday, right?
Yeah, it's early, yeah.
Okay, so look, see, the first thing I do, right, is try to turn it up.
Yeah, I mean, we set
But
this up to help you, but then you don't even use it, man.
so, it actually, even though I turned it off, it still dropped 2 in on me. Like I was right there.
Yeah, it's just, like sometimes you need some like so there's like loading time. Like
Yeah.
that's the reason why.
So I'm shocked. Some people actually do reply to these two
Yeah, I
messages.
mean that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it does. It does
So
work.
anyways, he says morning between 9 and 11:30. So now I'm introducing myself. Hello, Barry. My name is Tom Campbell, blah, 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 retirement application. I already sent this, right? But there was a delay
Yeah, I
and
mean
it
it's
pushed
just
this
the
in.
internet. Yeah,
You know
it's
what I
just the
mean?
internet. Yeah.
So he says yes again. And once he said yes again, I just picked up my phone and called him.
Available now. Okay. Are you available now? Okay.
Yeah, that's it. I just picked up my phone and called him. And I did it yesterday. In fact, this is the guy that was the 300,000. He works in the Bay Area. He didn't tell me what his job was. He was, he had his walls up, right?
Yeah.
So, and I said, okay, well, we'll use 300,000, no worries. But I did everything that you just watched on the other ones, right? Literally walked through the whole thing. And then I finally got to the point where I was like, hey, just out of curiosity, I mean, how old are you, Barry? Oh, I'm 63. Are you married? So now it's more easier questions before I ask harder questions again. Okay, how many children do you have? Oh, you have 2. Okay. And no, this guy's got 4. 4 kids.
Mhm.
I said, man, I'm proud of you. And I bring things up like that too. If they
Yeah.
say something that deserves to be recognized just by humanity, I'll do it.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
and it's funny, and you build rapport like that, so it's
yeah. So,
you show them your
and then,
personal side of you. Yeah,
yeah. So then at that point, now I have an appointment. I go through it. I did get his financial information. I mean, not
was
all
it
of it, but enough.
was it 300 or was it 300?
Oh, it's over.
Okay,
It's over. He told me he makes like around 480.
yeah, I think people with higher income they tend to be a little bit more protective of who they're
Yes,
talking to.
and he maxes out his 401k. He maxes out his IRA, right? His wife has a job too, which I find it really hard to do if you got 4 kids. She's 53. Their household income, what their expenses is 17,000. And that leaves them roughly, about $19,000 to $20,000 of expendable income. And I asked him, I go, hey, listen, if you could do this, if we could literally show you move your money to another vehicle, just what you're currently doing right now, what your existing habits are. Take that 25,000 that you're doing your 26.5 in your 401k, what you're contributing each year, and also your $7,000 from your IRA, combine those, put it in this other vehicle.
Mm.
And I say, would you look at that? Because at that point, it's not, you're not changing any of your existing habits. And I'm like, yeah, that would actually be, I would look at that. I go, okay, well then out of the, $17,000, $19,000 that you have left over from expendable income, I go, what about, can you add anything from that? Because basically you're paying yourself in the future.
So good.
Like you said, yeah.
Okay.
He said, go ahead. So my illustrations for him are going to be at 3,500. I'm doing 2 of them, one for him and one for his wife. So it's $7,000 of his money.
Yeah. When is that illustration? Like, is it
I'm doing it on Tuesday at 9 o'clock, Tuesday in the morning.
Dude, man, good luck. Let me know how it goes, man.
But you see how quick it is? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
no,
Boom, boom,
it's super
boom.
fast. It's like the third call, and then you're into illustration, and the fourth call, the application, and you're done. It's a
Yep.
very streamlined process that I think you have this shit figured out. Like, you have the whole process figured out. It's just about doing the work, calling the leads.
So, and here's the thing too, like, and you should be aware of this. This is why, because I want to admire you for your transitioning too. You're a little sneaky with your transitions.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm good with that. Yeah, no, for sure.
Because I told you I would want to help you look or see if I could help you with revamping your program, right? Yeah. And I offered, hey, let's barter, and you transitioned away from that so smoothly.
Yeah, of course.
We'll talk about that. No, I was serious about that. Number one.
Do you want me to stop the recording first? Hold on, let me stop recording.
Yeah, you can stop it.